I'm Allison, and this is Dream Anyway, a podcast for those of us who feel the pull to create, even when the path isn't clear. So wherever you are in your journey, grab a coffee, get comfy, and dream anyway.
My name's Josalyn Isbell on Instagram and a lot of other places. I'm Josalyn the Atreides. Got my Dune name going. Love Dune. And yeah, I don't know. Who am I? I'm a disabled veteran. I was in the Marine Corps.
How long were you in the Marine Corps?
Like 4 years. And I don't know. I have some like college degrees, but I never really like held down a professional job for very long. I did work for like 1 year for the Treasury Department as a bank examiner. That was pretty cool. And I've written some military history articles, presented at some conferences. And then for like a little over the last year, I've been doing fashion modeling in Spokane. That's been really exciting.
Oh, how did you get into that?
So I literally went to just a local queer fashion boutique, Dom and Bomb. My wife, Kira, sent me to they had a collab t-shirt with Mercury Stardust. It's pretty cool. It says, "You're severely underestimating how much I run on spite." So I went to pick that up. And when I was there, they were telling me they were putting together this queer fashion show and like have that on my radar. And I was like, oh, cool. And so later I was looking on their website about seeing if they had any information about when that was. And they didn't really, but I noticed they had this like vest and like wide leg kind of like disco suit combo. And so I went into the store to check that out and they had it and I tried it on and I was strutting it around. And they're like, oh my God, like that looks great. Do you want to model in our fashion show? And I was like, yeah, I want to do that. They ended up putting me in like the closing lineup in a totally custom like sequin dress, like made from scratch. And that was just such a good time. I don't think I've ever quite in the whole year since then found like such immaculate vibes. It was just perfect. And I was like, well, I would like to do more of this. Mm-hmm. And so then from some folks that I met there, Chelsea from Ghost Hive Studios, I started following her on Instagram and then followed kind of some photographers that she knew. And I saw where Kennedy and Amanda from Dreamily Portraits and Micah, and they were all going to do this event, a model photographer meetup. So I went to the first meetup and then I went to another one. And then Chelsea from Ghost Hive put me in her fashion show with Jada Templeton for her hip hop album release. Yeah, it all just kind of went from there. I think I've been in like 7 or 8 shows at this point, and it's been a lot of fun. Yeah.
Personally, I would never do that. Has that been something you've always thought about, or is it Dom and Bomb brought it up and you were like, yes. Are you very outgoing?
It depends. I'm both. I'm like really shy and kind of slow to come out of my shell. But once I know people and feel comfortable with them, then I can be like extroverted, kind of life of the party.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't necessarily come naturally to me. And as far as like modeling specifically, no, I didn't like hang out as a kid, like pining away to do that. But I've always been into like fashion and style, just like literally strutting everywhere I go.
You look really cute today.
Thank you.
And I just always look exactly the same. I wish I had some fashion sense. I think one of my sisters stole it all.
Yeah, she made off with it like a bandit.
She took it all. That's rude. You have children?
Yeah, we do. We have 2 little girls.
Mm-hmm. And how old are they?
6 and 8.
They're very cute from what I see on social media.
We don't put them up on social media too much. We kind of try to keep them protected and low key. But a little bit kind of comes through. And, you know, they've been to a few of the fashion shows and like posed for photographers who were like checking the lighting before the show.
Cute.
And yeah, they love that.
They're adorable. Well, and your wife is such a beautiful model as well. Like all in the family now.
It's funny because I kind of roped her into this, but she had some experience from before. She did hair modeling for a while in college. And then also we used to live in Salt Lake City and there was a costume shop there. They put her in a few different cosplay outfits, like at Comic-Con, and had her walk around.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I think it's still on her Facebook. There's an image of her in like the skin tight Michelle Pfeiffer style Catwoman suit. It's choice.
Actually, I had a meeting yesterday, and of course, I don't need anybody to give me permission, but there's a part of me that really wants colored hair. But even wearing a hat, I have so much trouble. I feel like I'm playing dress up and I look ridiculous, but I think I also look cute in hats. It's so weird to feel like that we need permission to be exactly who we are.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, so I guess it's as good a time as any to launch into like, I'm transgender, I'm a trans woman. But on the issue of hats specifically,
more importantly,
before transition, I could never pull off a hat. I hated it. Like I wanted so bad. When I was in high school, it was this thing that all the dudes, they wore like the baseball cap, but it was a very specific kind that was like, it was fitted. It didn't have the big like trucker hat kind of front. It was more smooth. I liked that look. I wanted to have that look. And it just always looked terrible, I thought, on my head. And, you know, looking back, I'm wondering how much of that was like, because that's a very like masculine, you know, like baseball coach kind of look.
Yeah.
And so that like I could see it looking good on them, but then I'd like get into it and be like, this doesn't fit. And, you know, even in the Marines, I liked the idea of uniforms. I had a lot of like angst as a kid. Puberty and stuff is rough. Adolescence is rough for everybody. But I struggled a lot with like the idea of like in elementary school, it was kind of like, well, if your clothes are a cool color, you know, oh, if you're wearing like the Ninja Turtles t-shirt, then the other kids are like, yeah, Ninja Turtles. Then you start getting into middle school and high school. And the kids are like, oh, you don't have like the Tommy Hilfiger sweater vest. Like where's your Polo Ralph Lauren? Like, oh. And I struggled with that. And so I really like this idea of like, if we are all just wearing the same thing, and in the Marines specifically, because everyone's in their uniforms and they have this like anal complex about being neat, put together. They call it being squared away. It's like you're judged not on what you're wearing, but like how well you wear it. How much is it like put together and cleaned up and ironed? And I really liked that. And like, I liked the hats. But again, I always felt like I was kind of struggling to pull them off.
Do you mind me asking, when did you start transitioning?
About 4 years ago.
Oh, okay. So once you stopped with the military.
You know, it was interesting. I remember this one encounter. I've like unpacked it in therapy and everything, where there was this guy in my unit and we'd been having this hard day where they were like messing with us, making everybody like clean their barracks rooms over and over. And we were like getting to the end. And so everybody was like jazzed, like, hey, all right, we made it through. Like they're going to stop messing with us and we can have, you know, free time. The day's over. So I was kind of like laughing and joking with this guy who was like, he wasn't my immediate superior, but he was like the next rank up. And he was like, whoa, hold on. I don't want anything to do with you. Stop like talking to me like we're buddies. Just because I'm a good NCO, like non-commissioned officer, like middle management kind of person, just because I'm a good NCO doesn't mean that I like you or want to be around you. Leave me alone. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he was like, I don't want your like gay shit anywhere up on me. And I was like, I'm not gay. What are you talking about? And he's like, I don't know what you are. I think you don't even know, but I can tell. And I hate that. And you stay away from me. And I was like, what? But, you know, before then, I had already kind of like known.
Were you married at this time?
No.
Oh,
no.
okay.
No, this was like 20 years ago.
Oh, okay. What did you know 20 years ago?
I mean, so like as a little kid, I would always, like when I was playing pretend, I would pretend to be Alice from Alice in Wonderland. I wouldn't be Peter Pan. I'd be Wendy from Peter Pan. I'd be Karen from Frosty the Snowman. She's like one of the main kids. I'd be Dorothy in Wizard to Oz and especially Return to Oz. And like I had a little sister who she passed away, unfortunately, but I had her and I had two just like a year older girl cousins. And we'd all hang out and we'd like play dress up and stuff. And I remember there was a point where like my parents shut me down and were like, you need to stop playing girl dress up. Like, here's your dad's old clothes. You can play dress up in those. And I was like, these are lame. And also my mom, since I came out, my mom dug up this old photo that was me at like 3-4 years old with like a little black purse. She was like, this was your purse. You always had to have your purse. And I was like, oh yeah, like I love a good purse.
That's funny.
But so that got like shut down. And, you know, I always had this feeling of like, I like girls. I like femininity. I want to be close to that. And a little in the back of my mind, this feeling of like, I wish I could be that, but clearly I can't. I had no concept of any of that. So it felt like I just kind of had this like burden to bear. I don't know if I would quite go so far at that point to say it felt like I was in the wrong body.
Yeah.
But, you know, it just felt like, oh, well, the roll of the dice, I'm in the body I'm in, try to make the most of it. But then, like I said, I struggled a lot with like puberty, adolescence. When I went to high school, I had never been like a jock, like I was a total nerd. But going into high school, I was like, hey, I have to be on the football team. Because in the movies, those are like the cool kids. That's who like runs the school. That's who gets to be around the cheerleaders. So I need to be on the football team so I can like hang out with the cheerleaders and like the student council girls. And it went horribly. I hated that. I hated being on the football team. And I ended up dropping out of high school. And I was going to like start a rock band with my best friend. I ended up going to junior college for music for a while, but dropped out of that to work full time, to have more money for like musical equipment. And somewhere in there, I smoked marijuana for the first time. And then like a month after that, I had a friend. We were all playing music together. We were going to play in our friend's Mormon church talent show, which is funny because we were hanging out, like getting stoned, like playing our like rock music, like, yeah, Mormon church talent show. That's a sweet gig, big audience. And this friend of mine, he was like, I got like 2 hits of acid. Like our other friend, he only wants to take half. He's never done it before. I could give you the other half. And I was like, cool. And so he left it with me and they left and it was just me and my best friend. And he was like, yeah, like you take your like half tab of acid. I'll sit for you, watch for, you know, make sure everything goes good. So I took it and like eventually he went to bed and I was trying to go to bed, but couldn't fall asleep and like laid down. And I had this like closed eye hallucination of like a floating, flickering point of light. I was like, oh, that's my soul. And it's like a female soul. It's like a feminine soul. And I was like, that makes so much sense. Knowing that, it was like, well, I don't have to worry about my body so much because like, that's who I am on the inside. And it was kind of just my little secret, except I wrote about this experience of, you know, taking psychedelics in an email. But my dad was like, in this period of time where I dropped out twice, because I also quit junior college and me and him were fighting a lot. And so he snooped my email one day. I left it open and he went in looking around. So he approached me and was like, hey, I know you've been smoking pot, partly because he had been smoking pot too. And some of the pot that we smoked was like, we stole it from him. We were rooting through their stuff, looking for cigarettes actually, and found the pot. And to my best friend, I was like, is this marijuana? And he was like, it is. And I was like, should we smoke this? And that was the first time I had smoked marijuana. So he's like, I knew you were stealing my pot. And I saw your email where you took acid. And I was like, oh shit. And he was like, and that's whatever. Like, you're at the age 2 experiment. I was like 17. And he was like, I saw what you said about like having your trip and like having this like female soul. And like, we need to talk about that. And I was worried he was going to be like freaked out. He always had this like duality of like internalized homophobia because he was groomed and molested by his scoutmaster as a kid. Of course, he loved Boy Scouts. He was like, you need to do Boy Scouts. I got my Eagle Scout. Whenever we were like having a big heart to heart, or like I felt like I was like kind of hitting a bottom, he'd be like, look, you can tell me anything. Like, I don't care. It's okay. I don't even care if you're gay. Like, that was always his thing of like, and it was so funny because it was like the vibe he was giving off was like, that would be the worst thing. The worst thing he could think of is like, oh, my son is gay, but I still love you. And so he was kind of putting that vibe out of like, I saw this thing in this email. And I was like, yeah, I had this psychedelic experience and felt like I got more in touch with myself. And that's just like a part of who I am, like on the inside. And it's not a big deal. And he was like, don't you really think that you're just like into women? You want to like be with girls, not be a girl? And I was like, I mean, I guess. And he's like, because the women aren't going to want to get with you if you're like this weirdo, like with the fetish. And I was like, I don't think you quite get it, but yeah, I do like women, when I think about like dating, all of that, that's what I think of. And so then I kind of like adopted sort of suppressing it. And I think a lot of like being in the Marines, that was also something that my dad kind of pushed me towards.
I was going to ask about that because my idea of it, I don't know if it is, but it just seems like the most masculine of all the.
Oh, for sure.
It seems like even though maybe you were in touch with what you wanted and who you were also not just denying it, but like going after something completely opposite.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. No, it kind of back with like the football thing. It was very much this like, well, if I could just prove my masculinity, then maybe people could leave me alone. Or maybe even internally, I could leave me alone. I could feel like I'd attained something so that then I wouldn't have to worry about it.
The reason the podcast is called Dream Anyway is because I have incurable cancer, and I spent a year on the couch doing chemo. And, I've met you through photography, and photography is what keeps me going and keeps me alive and keeps me passionate. I'm going to dream anyway. I just want to live the best life I can until there's no more life to live.
Yeah.
And so that seems to me that that's what you're doing. You're living your best life. Of course, it's not all easy, and the world is a terrible place at the moment, especially, but I do appreciate that you are being true to yourself, and you've totally inspired me to go fucking put a hat on. How scary is it to put a hat on? It's so funny.
It's always hard to hear about like your cancer situation and, limitations, but it's inspiring to see you like power through all that you do. You're one of my favorite photographers that I've worked with, for sure.
Thank you. The point of that sentence, though, is for me, that's what Dream Anyway is. And I can see that you are dreaming anyway. People are telling you to be one thing and you're going, this is who I am, and being true to yourself. So I guess I'm asking, do you have any words of inspiration or encouragement for somebody who finds it hard to even just stick a hat on their head? How can we help somebody live their best life or dream anyway, despite all the things that say don't do that?
I mean, I think one of the biggest things that I've learned, and, I don't need to go into it all, but I've had like lots of other struggles, struggled with addiction. And one of my biggest takeaways from all of that is that it all sucks anyway.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
There's a saying from the Marine Corps, ironically, that is embrace the suck.
Mm-hmm.
or it's even kind of like a sort of Buddhist thing. Attachment is the root of all suffering, just on that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And so something I've kind of had to learn to do, being mostly sober, I still like consume an alcohol from time to time. But a lot of the times I'll be at like the bar or the club or, the fashion show with the cash bar. And I'm not going to drink, but I kind of feel like I want to. And it's like, I think about, well, like, what is it? And it's like, I'm wanting it to be easier. I'm wanting the like jitters to go away and learning that like I can do it with the fear, with the doubt. And that oftentimes that kind of is the ride, And I also, again, with just like all these struggles and like loss in my life, I'm a sucker for nostalgia. I'm forever and a day being like, oh, like me and my people in middle school, we'd go walk in the desert and just like, it was the time of our life. But in some ways it really was. They don't remember it like that. They're like, that sucked. What are you talking about? And I'm like, no, you don't get it. It was great. But that was a lot of what made that special, was that there wasn't like, oh, well, I'll just have a drink and that'll make me have fun, or like, oh, well, I know that like sex will make me feel really good. I'm going to try to hook up with somebody. And then I know if I can do that, then I'm going to feel good. I won't have to worry about like other things.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot healthier ways, but that people still kind of do the same thing. I've been really into fitness lately, but I catch myself doing it with fitness. I'll go run. If I can hit my like new best time, then I'll just feel good, And again, I think that that is healthier, but at the same time, it's like sometimes you need to just sit in the discomfort, and that really it's that you're with your friends, you missed the bus. Now you've got to walk a few miles home in the rain, but you get there and you made it. And your friend's little brother's being annoying, but finally that gets sorted out and you get to watch Star Wars and, just these little things, but doing it in the presence of the challenge. It's so much more rewarding when you know that it's going to be like that. It gives you like the ability to do it anyway, to approach it even when you don't want to, because like you do have to stop and think about it of like, okay, it's going to be hard. I'm going to be uncomfortable, but it's going to be fun, and it's going to be rewarding. And then when you get to the other side and look back like me with those rose-colored nostalgia glasses, you're going to be like, hell yes. I was in the Marines as a closeted trans woman, like getting hate from my superiors, but I kicked ass and I did it anyway. You were like on the couch, like with the chemo, like hurting and struggling, but you got up and you did the photography and you have this podcast and you did it anyway.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that you're nostalgic for middle school. You might be the only one. Have you ever thought about what you want your legacy to be and what you want your kids to think about you?
Oh, yeah. A lot. Probably too much in a way. There's a Laura Jane Grace song. She's the singer of Against Me. She's a trans woman. Before she came out all the way, she made this famous album, Transgender Dysphoria Blues, as a, quote, concept album. That's how she pitched it to the band. Like, we're going to do this concept album about a trans hooker. And now it's like, those are like some of the trans punk rock anthems. She has this other song talking about like how far you've got to go, how long you've got left, who could live a life like that. And it's like, I struggle to come back to the present moment and not be thinking about that stuff. And honestly, thinking about that stuff too much like holds me back. And sometimes when I stop and worry I haven't done enough, then I get like depressed about it. But when I'm honestly feeling at my strongest, I get back to kind of that like Zen, like Jedi kind of thing. If I can just feel good about how I've conducted myself, if I can be kind to people and myself, then like, yeah, I just need like a robe, get my Obi-Wan on, like a hut in the desert. I mean, a lightsaber would be pretty cool. But I guess like another kind of final bit of like my hard-won wisdom that's worked for me is kind of this idea of like, if you can do it really well for like one person where it matters to them, that really counts so much more than like, did you do it for 100 people, 1,000, 1,000,000? Are you famous? Are you rich? That stuff's nice. I enjoyed the music shows I played that were for a bigger audience, but I hate looking back on how much time I spent like driving myself crazy about like, oh, we got to get the bigger venue. We got to get the show. We got to open for the right touring band. We got to climb the ladder. What really has meant so much more to me is when those random just couple of people here and there kind of creep around the corner and are like, I love your music. So what I'm doing is really kind of trying to subvert and be like, I'm here taking up space. I'm here so that trans people, middle-aged people who feel, recovering addicts who are like, I've wasted my life. Like, I'm just there to be like, hey, you know what? You are enough. You're good enough. Look at me. I'm up here like with these hotties selling the hot new shit and like, maybe none of that actually matters and you can just have fun with it.
That's so good. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening.